Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Deborah, aka the Sunset Girl Creates, and today we're working on our Tuesday cross stitch. So welcome to Tuesday cross stitch, and please sit down, and we're going to do a whip today with our cross stitch, and we'll be reading an article. Our pattern we'll be using is from Pretty Stitch Art, and it's Balloon Fantasy, and the fabric came from Pulp Stitch in Aberdeen. It is a rainbow watercolor cross stitch Ada 14 count fabric. Okay, so and then I got the stand off of Amazon. Bear with me as we go through some of these cross stitch with me's. I'm just learning how to do this on camera and to be able to cross stitch myself and still be comfortable, yet have a good view for everybody else, right? I wanted a nice close-up view so you could see where I'm working and what I'm doing. I'm actually working on the clouds. There's a big cloud right here, and then we have a big balloon. So what I wanted to do was finish up this set of clouds, and then I'm going to continue down the line. And I think I'm going to get my border all put on and all the clouds put on, and then I'm going to come back and put the rest of the balloons in. I think that's going to be a more efficient way. It's going to allow me to work from different areas as needed. So this is what I'm going to be concentrating on. I haven't had much time to work on it this week. It's kind of been just kind of sitting here. I've been working on my diamond painting, trying to get it done. It is now on the last section, so when we get back to it on Thursday, I will show you where we're at on it, because tomorrow is going to be our silhouette with me. So I'm excited about that upcoming event. And then we have Thursday, which is a regular diamond painting whip and chat. And then Friday is the Come Crochet or Knit with me. And I was looking at some of the stats on the videos, and I was wondering if this was a video that I wanted to keep in. So I'm just kind of seeing, and I see that there's a lot of views for the cross stitch. So I'm going to be keeping cross stitch in. We will start learning more about some of the things that you can order. I have an article today that I want to read and talk about, and it's really it's all about copyrights on designs, okay? So copyright on designs is not just for cross stitch, right? There's copyrights on designs for any kind of craft. Like for me to be working on this pattern on camera, I have to say what the pattern name is and who did it. I'm not giving it away. It's personal use. I'm using it to track my progress on my channel. So I make sure that I put in all the information. But we have an article to kind of go over, and I'm really excited to kind of do this and really talk more in depth about our copyrights and what the laws really say, right? And I think copyright is a big subject. I'm just going to, oh no, did I just really take my needle off the thread? I did. I was just trying to bring up the pattern so I could see what my next row is. It's on my iPad, and I thought I just put this down, and I guess I still had the needle in my hand. So I will hold that needle, and let's double click back to our pattern. Here we go. And we did that one. Okay, so it's just a step down. Okay, perfect. So we will be going in this hole. I'm not very good with my left hand. I think I'll go back to my right. I'm much better with that one. I've had some issues with my hands hurting this week. And so I've been letting my hands rest some. So I've really been not doing a whole lot with cross stitch. So you haven't seen, there's not much progress on this from last week. I think what I'm going to do is probably work on this as well once a week in the afternoons when we sit outside. Because I usually knit when I sit outside. Looks like it feels like there's something. Nope, it's fine. It's from the other side. Okay, so, yeah, I'm going to put more time into this now. I'm just really trying to get my bearings on what I'm going to be doing for the channel, and been doing a lot of crochet and knitting. I've been working on my sock, been working on my blanket, and this one just never got picked up, right? I can take and grab the bag for the sock and rock right out the door and go sit down. When I do cross stitch or I do knitting, I have to make sure that I have the colors that I need with me, as well as I have to make sure I have my iPad because that's where my pattern is. And then I have to make sure I have everything else with me because it's got my scissors and my threader, and it's got a magnetic tray on the bottom so all the metal things stick to it so I can carry it and travel and it's not gonna go anywhere. And I got that because we are going to start traveling. We're going to start doing some RVing. We don't have the RV yet. We're waiting for Social Security to get done so that I have a steady income so that I can go, we can go purchase it. We don't have anyone right this minute with a steady income. And so we want to make sure that that's what we have before we buy the camper. Because we want to make sure that we have the money to pay for it, right? So let's go back to our article and get started on copyright on designs, okay? Excuse me. Copyright on designs. I'm actually going to move a few things around a second over here. And I'm going to stand up my, oops, I just hit the camera. Sorry. Sorry about the camera. Sorry. Earthquake coming. Heads up. I'm just going to set up my iPad so I can read it while we work. And it can be where I can see it. And still be able to cross stitch at the same time. So copyrights on designs. Oops. I'm hitting everything. I'm in a very tight spot today. My husband pulled the couch out because we couldn't find the remote yesterday. And because it's the double recliner, it's really heavy. He didn't push my side back. And so everything's kind of discombobulated. I'm trying to make it work because it is too heavy. I cannot move it. So I'm in a really cramped area today. I was going to skip this video. However, as I said, it is a popular video to be watched. So we will continue to do the cross stitch ones. So I will work to find a way to make sure that we can cross stitch and things will work out just fine. Okay? So our next one is copyrights on designs, what it is and how it works. It was posted on December 12th, 2017. Okay? And I think copyright law is very important that we pay attention to, right? You hear about it a lot in cross-stitch forums, in crochet and knit forums. You hear it in diamond painting forum. You hear it all over, right? Buying licensed artwork. It's about buying licensed artwork, right? Artists have to make a living too, right? So you don't want to cheat an artist out of their money. So you want to respect their copyrights, right? You want to make sure that when you're buying something that has their name on it, they're getting paid for it, right? Same with music. Remember we had this big blow up when we had the music sharing back in the day, back in the early 90s? And there was a lot of issues that came out of that because of the copyright issue laws, right? So the musicians weren't being paid for their work, right? And a lot of people think and look at it as, well, they have everything they want, right? They pretty much can do or have anything that they want. And everything's fine. It's not. They still deserve to be paid for what they've done. Whether they're singing, whether they're developing a pattern. It's just like this pattern that I'm doing right now. It is a copyrighted pattern, okay? And it's a pattern that we need to pay for, right? I'm not going to go find it on a secret site and buy it and then make sure Pretty Stitch Art doesn't get paid, right? That's not fair. She took her time and her energy and her imagination to put this all together, right? It's not easy to put these kind of things together. It's like drawing a picture, but you're drawing it on canvas, okay? You're drawing it on Aida fabric, and you're using floss, embroidery floss, DMC floss. It used to be embroidery floss, but now it's used to call, I don't know if they still call it. I think they just call it DMC floss. However, that DMC floss you have to buy, right? And there's other ones out there that let us choose, right? And so we just want to make sure this one goes to 2 back and then 3. Okay, I'm just counting so I can make sure that I'm not missing a stitch as we go, because this section is not straight down. So I have to make sure that I'm putting the stitches in properly. So we may switch back and forth to where I can talk and read and cross stitch at the same time. So there is a great post about copyright on Peacock and Fig. So let's go back and look at that. Let's go back and look and see where that is, because that's where that started, right? So let me see if I can get it to go to that website. There we go. Okay. Okay, so let's read about off of this Peacock and Fig website. Looks like a great cross stitch one. So it's got a lot about oh, this is great. This is the article that we really need to read. It is long. So let's get started on the article so that we can make sure we have time to get it completed, right? So it's called, What's the Big Deal About Copyright? If you've been in any online forum or group for long enough, at some point the dreaded C word will come up, right? Copyright. It's an issue that affects both designers and stitchers, as well as the stitching industry at large. So I thought I'd go through a few of the basics. Thorough. See, I messed that word up. I tried to read a wrong word, right? Through a few of the basics, so stitchers can understand whether they're getting a legal pattern or whether they've unfortunately purchased an illegal pattern. Okay, I don't like to accidentally purchase an illegal copy because I don't want the wrong people to be paid, right? I want to ensure that the artist gets paid by the company that I'm buying the product from. Disclaimer. So this is the disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer, nor an intellectual property expert. Some of the things I'll be saying are based on my own research or my time as a cyber threat analyst an intelligence officer. If you have any questions about IP or copyright, please speak to an attorney specializing in this field. And that's really good to know that this is basically, unless you're an attorney, it's not, you can talk about what you've researched and what you know, or read articles, and it's a really good way of deciding if it's really about copyright or if it's about something else. Copyright is a legal term, basically meaning the creation is original and from one person or company. For example, when I design a pattern based on my own original art, both the art and the pattern are my copyright. It's traditional to mark it with a C symbol, so it's got the copyright symbol in parentheses, but it's not legally necessary. If I paint an image and then make a cross-stitch pattern from it, that's called a directive work. The pattern was derived from the painting. Because the art is my copyright, I obviously don't need to ask myself permission to make a derived work. Okay, so that's a long thing, right? So let's break it down. If I paint an image and then make a cross-stitch pattern from it, it's called derivative work. Sorry, it's derivative work. The pattern was derived from the painting. So the painting was hers, right? So because the painting is her copyright, she obviously doesn't need to ask my permission to make the derivative work. So if she paints this picture and then she makes a pattern for cross-stitch out of it, it is all her copyright. But if she paints a picture and I want to make a cross-stitch out of it, I need to contact her and get her permission to use that image to create something different. Okay? So that's kind of where it goes. So when designing, copyright has several implications. For certain commissions, the copyright will transfer to the company commissioning the design. So if you're doing a design for a company, right, and they're putting it in their magazine, when you sign your contract with them to do those articles, right, you're telling them that you give them the right to use that pattern. And you no longer, so you're turning over the copyright to them, okay? It will transfer the company commissioning the design. This means the designer can't replicate the design and sell it themselves. They'd be breaching their contract. An example would be a graphic designer working for a design company. Any designs created while working for the company are copyright of the company, not the original designer. Of course, the designer can use the images in a portfolio as long as it isn't prohibited in their contract, but they cannot resell or reuse those images. For many magazine commissions, designers retain the copyright, but the rights to sell the pattern remain with the magazine for the first 6 months after publication. Once the 6 months are up, the designer can sell the pattern themselves. So they've now kind of fixed it to where the designer can't do anything. Their hands are tied and they get to make all the money off their magazines for 6 months. And then once that 6 months is over, the copyright reverts back to the artist, and they can start selling that work. Okay? But you have to make sure it's in the contract properly, because if it's not designed like that in the contract, then it's not true, right? It's not legally binding if it's not listed in the contract that way. So make sure that if you're getting involved in anything you're selling of your own artwork, make sure you bring in an attorney to cover yourself on all your copyrights. They need to review those contracts. They're going to point out what's not going to be good for you, right? So you want to make sure. So free cross-stitch patterns. Okay, this one's fun because they're giving this pattern away for free, right? So many designers offer free cross-stitch patterns either on their Facebook page or group or on their website, for example. The free Peacock and Fig cross-stitch patterns are available to members of the Peacock Lounge. You can sign up here to access them, so there's a link to sign up for them. Some of the free patterns are featured in the photo. The peacock feather is really popular. Some designers will share images of their free patterns on social media, including sites like Pinterest. Unfortunately, there are also ridiculous amounts of illegal patterns being shared as free patterns on sites like Pinterest too. If a chart doesn't lead to the original designer's page or to a trusted and well-known site like DMC, there's a very high probability that the pattern was illegally uploaded. Here's DMC's free pattern site. They commission designers to create the lovely collection of patterns. There are also other legitimate free sites like Daisy Cross Stitch and free patterns offered on stitching magazine websites. So there's a way to get patterns, right, for free. Just do it legally. Do it the legal way. Don't go on the illegal sites. Do it on the legal sites, okay? Cross-stitch patterns for purchase. Now this is the one that it really hits. And of course, there are thousands of incredibly talented designers out there you can purchase cross-stitch patterns from. Many have their own websites, like some of my talented friends like Sharon, Christine, Fabi Riley, and Julie Jackson of Submissive Cross Stitch, and many others sell via online marketplaces like Etsy. Some designers even sell by Amazon or eBay, but that is much rare. In order to keep designing and providing new exciting designs, obviously the designers need to be paid for their work, whether that's through direct sales of their designs, wholesaling the pattern to a needle workshop, or commission the magazines and companies like DMC. For example, the design process and how intensive it can be. Please check out the short video of her design process. So she gives you a video of kind of how she goes about defining her design process. You're more than happy to get on YouTube and watch that. I will not air it on my channel. So this is where it really gets maybe a little dicey. So what's the problem with copyright infringement? Okay, I'm gonna grab a drink real quick so I can continue reading. And there are two main issues of copyright infringement. Designers lose money and their reputations can be damaged, and the stitcher often ends up with an inferior quality pattern. For the stitcher, often people who are stealing images to sell as patterns online aren't designers themselves. Thus, the patterns are purely put through software without cleaning them up, making sure the colors are accurate, making sure the art is properly licensed and used with permission, etc. So the stitcher ends up with a massive chart that has 90 plus colors in it, many of which are totally unnecessary. This makes buying floss for the pattern very expensive. The colors are often skewed too, as the person making the chart doesn't know how to adjust the colors and details for the best effects. It's not uncommon at all for the finished piece to end up looking totally different than the image on the front of the pattern. Also, one less known issue when downloading illegal patterns, particularly from free sites, is that often the digital patterns or the site itself is a host for malware. Nothing is truly ever free, and there are many sites that are set up as a honeypot. No one would ever suspect anything as ordinary as a stitching website to actually be the equivalent of a cyber trap. So visitors tend to not be suspicious. It's not uncommon for those free files to actually be a means to transfer malware or spyware to your computer, the same way many free music or movie downloads can affect your computer. There has been a massive increase in ransomware in the past few years. The virus will lock your computer, so it's totally useless, and you must pay money to the ransomware creator or website host to get your computer unlocked. For the designers, seeing their designs being uploaded to illegal sites has serious and often career-threatening costs. One designer friend told me that just one popular pattern of hers that was stolen and illegally uploaded to a sharing site, she lost approximately $10,000 in revenue. Excuse me. Hold on. From one pattern on one site. That can make or break the ability to continue designing. So think about that. If you lose $10,000 on one pattern and you have 5 patterns that are out there and you've lost $10,000 per pattern, that's $50,000. That's a year's worth of work, right? So think about it. If the designers aren't getting revenue, they can't afford the software and business systems they need, like their website. And they have to pay for all that. The business systems that they need, the creator systems, they are not cheap. They're like $400 or $500 for one set, right? And then you have to do that for all. I mean, it's getting a little better with the new subscriptions that are out now. And I think that might help, but I don't know how that's going to affect other things. So we'll see how that's going to affect. And they can't afford to spend months designing and stitching collections for their fans and customers. Many designers end up quitting because of financial losses. For even large companies can suffer losses. It's incredible how much money is spent on counterfeit goods. It's easy to forget the thousands of jobs that are created by big companies that do affect real people. In addition, counterfeit patterns can create serious problems for the reputation of the company. That's why companies such as Disney are quite fierce about protecting their copyright. Their characters are all they have to distinguish themselves. There definitely are businesses that pretend they are allowed to sell copyrighted characters like Disney by adding in their own copyright information. Many shoppers won't realize it's illegal. It's the equivalent of stealing a vehicle, scraping off the VIN number, and trying to resell it as your property. Here's an example of one way shops do this. You can see the shop and put their business name after the pattern name if it was designed by them. I blocked out the business name, but that's pretty common. Or seeing a C shop name in the listing description. It can cost tens of thousands of dollars or more for a commercial license for one Disney product. So it's highly unlikely any cross-stitch designer could afford that. Disney is also very selective about who they will issue licenses to, like Thomas Kincaid patterns are properly licensed with Disney's approval. Ah, Thomas Kincaid got bought by Disney. Okay. I did not know that. There are also losses beyond financial. Seeing someone steal a design can either claim it as their own or upload it to a sharing site is incredibly hurtful and disheartening. It's the equivalent of someone coming into your home and stealing something you spent a lot of time and love on. Here's an example. On the left is a pattern I created for my best friend's parents. He passed away suddenly in January, and I felt the need to create something to memorialize him. It's representing the massive hole he left in our hearts. I got a black worm pattern called a diaper pattern from a stitching book I have and adopted it to create the heart shape in the center. On the right is the copyright. On the right is the copy I found in a stitching group. The person who posted it claimed they made the pattern up and it wasn't copied from mine. You can clearly see every stitch is identical. It was just continued in a rectangular shape. This was very distressing experience, particularly considering the meaning behind the pattern. I had never released the actual pattern publicly for that reason. I had only ever shown it to the finished photo once on Instagram and once on Facebook in early February just before his funeral. Wow, that's so sad that people do that, man. That just breaks my heart. I just feel for these people. So what can you do? So what can a designer do, right? Well, thankfully there are actually many ways to protect yourself from ending up with illegal patterns, whether free or paid. Below are some tips that might help you the next time you go shopping online or someone forwards you a great site for free patterns. For sites you're not familiar with or online shops, have a quick scroll through the patterns available. If you see any Disney patterns or any characters that are copyrighted like Deadpool, Pokemon, Winnie the Pooh, etc., there's a very high probability the patterns are illegal. If they are very different from the originals, like the fantastic parodies of various characters by Cloud Factory, then they're legal. A parody of the original design is okay, but a direct copy from the image that's been taken from an online or photograph isn't. Fan art is very murky legal area. I won't dive into it here, as it does depend on whether the original artists encourage fan art or not. It's no fun for the stitcher, as people do not want to popular characters and such, especially for kids who are demanding a pattern of their favorite character. Unfortunately, legal versions of these characters are very rare due to the costs of obtaining commercial licenses. And even if a pattern is free, it's not legal to use art or images without permission and proper licensing. Another giveaway the site is probably selling or giving away illegal patterns. If there are a massive range of styles, each designer has a very unique style. So unless it's a company like those listed above that properly license artists and sell patterns, it's probably that the patterns are illegal. The prices are too cheap. A designer pattern can go anywhere from $5 to $15 or up, depending on the complexity of the pattern. A good indication of someone not designing their own pattern is they sell the pattern very cheaply. This isn't the only indicator, but it is an important one. The artwork is clearly modern, but there's no licensing information in the design. If the art is from a well-known artist after 1923, like Georgia O'Keeffe, and there's nothing in the listing saying the images are used with permission from her estate, they're likely illegal. If the site is hosted in China or Russia, this is a big generalization, as there are many very talented Chinese and Russian designers with legitimate websites. But if you know you're on a site that is hosted in these countries, look for other signs you might be on an illegal sharing site. If a chart is a scan from a magazine page or a copy of a chart or magazine, it's illegal. If it's just the chart and usually doesn't have a color key, it might be illegal. But if any of the other warning signs also apply. Unlike marketplaces like Amazon, eBay, AliExpress, etc., these sites can have legitimate patterns, but often they're copies of stolen art and designs are resold. If the prices for a pattern are a lot lower on those sites than on the designer's website, there's a good chance that it's an illegal pattern. You can do a reverse or image search in Google to see if the pattern really is original or if it was stolen from another designer or shop. And there's a link to, let's see where it goes. I don't know, I'm joined. Thank you. Opening Google, and let's see what it is. And so it just takes you to where you can put in and do a reverse search. That's all that does, okay? I was curious to see what it was. Let's get back to our article. Where'd it go? Okay. Where? Ugh. Did I lose my article? Oh, here it is. Okay. It just got bigger. There we go. Hopefully, this hasn't confused you too much. Thankfully, most people are very honest and understand that fake patterns affect their ability to keep stitching lovely projects in the long term. If you ever see a free pattern from a designer you know and you aren't sure whether it's legitimate or not, please contact the designer. They can tell you straight away whether it's a pattern they've authorized, and if not, it allows the designer to start the legal process to get the pattern removed. You can also often report copyright infringements to the company like Disney. Here's Disney's information about reporting on an infringement. So let's see what Disney's got for reporting. Okay, that didn't go to anything. Okay, it's going to somewhere I don't know. So I'm not going to click on them. Also, many Facebook group admins are really good at spotting fake patterns. So if you send them a message with a link to a pattern you're looking to buy, they'll be able to tell you whether it's legitimate or not. If you're a designer or you're not sure of the legal intricacies in your country, then please contact an IP or copyright lawyer. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give any legal advice. But it's always good to be aware of the general issues so that you know what you're looking for. Where did my thing go? What? I just hit a link or something. Okay. If you'd like to get more information about the issues and copyright, here's a great article that breaks down some of the more common myths. And click on the image below to access a handy downloadable quick reference. So if you want to, you can go to the site Peacock and Fig, and you can actually download this kind of cheat sheet. Is this pattern illegal? A quick checklist. Why should you care? Illegal copies destroy designers' livelihood and the needlework industry. Illegal patterns often stitch up really badly. Illegal patterns often are hosts for computer viruses and malware. Recognizable characters. If the site you're purchasing or downloading a free pattern from has characters like Disney, Pokemon, Winnie the Pooh, etc., it can be an illegal site. Those characters are very expensive to license legally. Seeing exact replicas of those characters are a red flag. The site might be using images illegally, especially if they're free patterns. Yeah, Disney will never be a free pattern. You'll never find a Disney pattern that's free. And if it's Disney, always check it out, okay? There's a huge variety of styles, so designers have a unique aesthetic. So a site that has a huge variety of styles of patterns may not have gone through the process to legally license the pattern. Legitimate sites will have licensing information in the listings for each pattern. Oh, are they too cheap? Most professional cross-stitch patterns range from $5 to $15 or more depending on the size or complexity. If the pattern is really cheap, it might not be an original design. Modern artwork. If the art is recognizable and modern, created after 1923, such as Georgia O'Keeffe paintings, but there is no licensing information, then it's possible the art was illegally used without proper permission. Scans or photocopies. If a pattern is a scan from a magazine page or looks like a photocopy, it's an illegal upload. Also, if it's missing important information like a color key, that's an indicator it's a scan pattern. Online marketplaces. Some patterns available from Amazon, eBay, or AliExpress are illegal copies. If the pattern or kit is new and is much cheaper than buying direct from the designer or the original company, it's a red flag that it's an illegal copy. So you can print this out, put it on your desktop so you have it, okay? I just closed my thing down, so let's go back to where we were. Here we are. Copyright. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the Cloud Factory, and we're going to kind of go off that one and see what she's got to say now. So copyright on designs. What it is, and how it works. So this is the one posted on December 12th, 2017. There's a great post about copyright on Peacock and Fig, which is the one we read. Anyways, I felt some people missed the basis of the entire issue. When designers complain about people sharing their designs, the most common response is, I bought it. I can do whatever I want with it. False. Just because you buy it doesn't mean you buy the copyright. You're just buying to be able to use the pattern for your own use, okay? Let's say a morning you wake up with a big urge to read. Go to the library, shop, and buy a book. Did you bought the book? Yes. Is the book yours? Yes. But since you bought the book, is the story yours too? No. Neither story nor idea. No, the phrases are there that are written inside the book that are copyright and therefore owned by the author. What you can do with your book. You can read it one or multiple times, highlight it. Please don't do that with library books. Use it as a wedge for a wobbly table. Make a personal copy. If you don't want to highlight the original one, gift it to a friend. What you can't do with your book. Use the idea of parts of the text to write your own book, to sell it, sell photocopies or digital copies of it, scan it, and share it with your Facebook reading group. This example works for patterns too. When you buy a pattern, what you have bought is actually a mini book. So what can you do with your pattern? You can print it or photocopy it for your own personal use. You can stitch it as many times as you want and gift that stitched work to whomever you want. What I can't do with it is distribute, sell, or share copies of it, or use the design to make your own design to sell. Okay, so I can't use this design and go put my name on it and sell it, is what it's saying. Okay, can I sell it? In this case, we make a difference between hard copies and digital files. If you bought a hard copy or a kit, you can sell it whether you stitched it or not. Exactly like a book. If you bought a digital file, you could sell it only once, and you should prove that you don't own any other digital copy of the pattern, as designers or authors cannot have any control on this. Selling digital files is usually forbidden. Why? The answer is simple and complicated at the same time. The simple one is that the law says that you just cannot, as you don't own any right to it. So, stop. The complicated one is the person put his own idea, time, efforts, and competence into it, and probably makes his living by selling the final product of that idea, time, efforts, and competencies. By illegally sharing that product, you are actually stealing a part of his living, and you encourage other people to do the same. In the case of a business company, you're probably stealing multiple persons' livings, or the possibility of the company to employ someone, part of the taxes they pay to the governments, not to talk about their enthusiasm and everything else that stands behind to make their money. I can't really explain how frustrating it is to find the fruit of much hard work thrown illegally down loaders' Shark Tank. A lot of designers have already decided to retire their design or to completely stop the designing career. When you decide to share a file, please remember that you are hurting morally and financially the person who gave the hours of fun that may end up stopping to create things that it's like you because of you. Think about it twice, maybe 3 times, and then don't do it. It's illegal. Okay, so you can also buy commercial licenses from designers, okay? That is a difference. You can go out and buy commercial licenses to add to your store, right? But you have to be able to produce that you have that commercial license. Okay? So I keep the commercial license with all my digital files, right? I have digital files that are commercial, and those digital files don't get used, right? Why do they not get forwarded, used, that kind of stuff? Because I can't do that. It's illegal to do that, right? You don't want me to go, if you put your time and energy, put it this way, you put your time and energy into drawing this beautiful photograph, right? And you've taken this photograph and you've now put it on a drawing, right? That photograph, original photograph, is yours as a copyright because you took that picture. You can make a derivative artwork off your photo. So you do a pencil drawing, or you do a painting of it, or you do a cross stitch, right? That is yours. You still have the copyright to both. You do not have to ask permission from the copyright owner because you are the owner of the copyright, okay? So you just have to be careful when you're out there. Buy from legitimate sites. Don't go on these sites. These sites are not any fun for anybody, really. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, a thumbs up would be great. If you didn't, a thumbs down is fine. But please remember, leave us a comment below and let us know why. Also, if you have any questions or concerns, please send me an email or leave me a comment. I'm more than happy to help you out. If I don't know an answer, I will research it and find the answer and show you where the answer is. But with that said, I want to thank you all for coming. If you want to be a member of the Sunset Girl Creates family, please feel free to subscribe below. And right next to it is the bell icon that will allow you to get reminders every time I upload a video. So I hope you're enjoying your Tuesday and have a really fun day. Bye-bye, y'all.